Greetings, Jelly Spoons, and welcome back to another episode of Monday Madness, the Monday show where I talk about anything and everything, except for this week, where I'm continuing with the piratical theme. So, today, for Monday Madness, may I present to you Pirates of the Caribbean, the musical. We begin with an empty stage. We see deep, dark blues and ocean greens. At the very back of the stage, we have a very lightweight screen which we can project images onto, and there are loads of lights illuminating this space, making it look like we are underwater. And the first piece of music that we hear is what I'm calling the Cursed Crew theme. They don't sing at this point, but we hear the melody, and the melody slowly swells and picks up and it becomes louder and louder, and then we hear shouting. And it's muffled. We can hear it through the water. We're hearing this offstage shouting. And what we're hearing is the sounds of the Black Pearl's crew. And what we hear is them kicking someone off the ship. They're shouting about mutinies, they're shouting about how they don't agree and how this person's wrong. And we hear his name, Bootstrap. Bootstrap Bill Turner. Bootstrap Bill Turner, you don't agree, we disagree, And then we hear a splash. And we see the actor playing Bootstrap Bill, who is tied to a cannon. And on a wire, he gets lowered slowly down into the water. And with all the lights and the projections and the sounds, we watch him sink, essentially. And this actor slowly goes down and down on the wire until he goes into the darkness. And just as Bootstrap Bill has disappeared into the dark depths of the ocean and we can no longer see him, we hear off stage Captain Barbossa shout, "Where's his medallion?" And then the lights change. There's a rush of water as we, the audience, are taken up, out of the depths of the water, and the water gets brighter and sunnier and lighter until we come and we're on top of the water. And it's a grey, cloudy sky, and mist starts to come in. Fog machines and smoke, and the stage is full, and we're sitting on the top of the ocean. And this brings us into scene 2. And while we're living completely in the realms of fantasy here, I have designed 3 very impressive set pieces that I want us to use. These are 3 different ship sets. So there's 2 where we can just see the prow and one side, and these can be put across the stage or predominantly down 2 sides of the stage, so we can have 2 ships on the stage at once. And then there's a 3rd ship, which we only ever see in profile, which goes across the center of the stage, and then you can see action that's happening down in the hold, you can have action happening on deck, or you can have both things happening at the same time. We see a ship coming through the mist, and of the 3 set pieces, this one would be one of the ones where we can just see the front, the bow of the ship, and part of one side. It comes slowly through the mist, and we start to hear a young girl singing. This young girl is, of course, the young Elizabeth Swann. Elizabeth, just like in the movie, will be standing at the very front of the ship, looking out into the mist, and she's singing to herself. She is singing the song, "A Pirate's Life." She won't sing the whole thing, and she will mostly be unaccompanied. Again, much like in the movie, she will only get a little way through the chorus of this song before she gets interrupted by Gibbs, who we'll get introduced to. He will tell her a little about pirates, and Elizabeth will be very, very interested. We will then meet Norrington and Elizabeth's father, and then we will hear shouts of the crew, and we will see flames going across in the background. Flames lighting up the darkness just behind them in the waters, and through the fog we will see the dark outline of a ship collapsing into the waves and sinking under the surface. Then, just like in the movie, they will see that there's a boy in the water, they will go to get him out, this boy will be brought on deck, and this will be our introduction to the young Will Turner. Elizabeth will be told to look after him, she'll get his name, Will Turner, she will tell him her name, Elizabeth Swann, and then she might sing a tiny, tiny snippet of a song that they'll get together later, where she sings to Will about how the future is going to be bright, it's going to be okay, you're safe now. And for the purposes of having just a title for everything, I'm going to call that the Future Hopes song. So she'll sing a little snippet of that, and then will pass out. And much like in the movie, she will spot that he has a medallion, she'll lift it up. It will probably be a little bit bigger so that the audience can see it. So rather than being a coin, it'll probably be more like this kind of size. But Elizabeth will spot it and she will be freaked out. Oh my goodness, he's a pirate. And then she will look up and she will see the shadow, again probably on a projection, of the Black Pearl sailing away. And she, in a panic, will hide the medallion. Scene 3 will take place in Port Royal, and this will be a montage scene, because we love a good montage. We gotta have a montage! And this montage will show Elizabeth and Will growing up. This is what I'm calling the main Future Hopes song. So we're going to have the young Will and Elizabeth. We're also going to have Norrington and Elizabeth's father. I want Norrington to ask Elizabeth's father if he can have his permission to marry his daughter. He'll get denied a few times, sort of Romeo and Juliet-esque, but eventually at the end of the song, when he's about to become Commodore Norrington, Elizabeth's father will say, yes, you have my blessing, marry my daughter. This is a moment I would like to deviate slightly from the original story. I would like to have Elizabeth overhear this conversation. And we see that Elizabeth is not sure how she feels about this decision. And it's at this point where she goes and she gets the medallion. Potentially she could sing a refrain from her lines from the Future Hope song. She could sing about that. And she could be looking at this medallion, which obviously represents Will. And she could be a little bit torn, and that's what we can see from her there. Scene 4, and now we have present day. Will is coming to deliver the sword. And I would like this to be Will's first solo song. So we can start with Will at the blacksmith's, and we see a bit of his life where he's dealing with the drunk Mr. Brown, who is in charge of the blacksmiths, and he's basically doing all the work. And we see that he has grown up and he has learned to be an amazing blacksmith, but he is doing everything himself. And I have tentatively titled this song At Least Once More. This is taking again from a line in the movie where Elizabeth says to Will, how many more times must I ask you to call me Elizabeth? And Will responds, at least once more, as always. The way I've written this song is that it's going to be Will asking himself questions, and the answer is always going to be at least once more. So it starts with him in the blacksmith's and he's finishing off this sword and he's asking himself, how many more times am I going to have to cover for this guy, the drunk boss? How many more times am I going to have to do all the work, save the day? Is it all going to fall to me? How many more times? He'll go up to deliver the sword, he'll take it to Governor Swann. While he's there, he will learn that Elizabeth is going to get engaged. And that dialogue can happen during the song. There can be gaps where there's dialogue and then he'll go back to singing his song and he'll sing things like, how many more times will I be overlooked? Things like that. He'll sing about how many times a day he wishes things could be different, how many times a day he wishes he knew what happened to his father, all these different things. How many more times will I look upon her face and just know how beautiful she is as Elizabeth arrives and comes down the stairs. As Elizabeth arrives, she's tucking the medallion away. The audience sees it, but no one else does, so she's wearing the medallion now. Elizabeth will come down, she'll reminisce with him about old times. Will can again, he'll ask himself, how many more times will, we speak? Will I know? Will I feel these ways about her? At least once more. The song will end as Governor Swann is taking Elizabeth away to go to Commodore Norrington's Commodore ceremony and taking the sword. And as they're leaving, just like in the movie, Elizabeth will say to Will, how many more times must I ask you to call me Elizabeth? And Will sing his response to her and he will say, at least once more. And then I had this idea that he could sing it again, and that can be his big final note, his final line, at least once more. But he's standing amid all this bustle. Elizabeth and her father, they've gone off, the townspeople are coming in, the chorus are coming in, the streets are filling, everyone's busy, and there's just Will standing there with no sword, and he's just standing there looking after the girl that he's in love with, and he just sings at least once more. And I would quite like to include a cheeky line that says something about, I feel like she has my heart locked away, and if I could give it to anyone, I'd give it to her, because I feel like that's a fun call ahead to what ultimately happens to Will in the third movie. Alright, so that's Will's big song, At Least Once More. And now we come to scene 5. We could possibly see in the background some of Commodore Norrington's ceremony where he's becoming the Commodore. Elizabeth and her father are watching. And then down the front of the stage, we see the chorus. And it's the townspeople, and they're singing about how great things are and how amazing Port Royal is and how Commodore Norrington deserves to be a Commodore because he has saved them from pirates and he has done all this amazing work, and they're really proud to be here, and they're so happy that this place is devoid of piracy and they're all just really chill, and it's all great. I'm thinking during this scene we can have a couple of levels going on. So we'll have down the front of the stage, on the main stage, we can have the chorus, and there are the townspeople going through Port Royal on the port and the town, and then towards the back we can have Commodore Norrington's ceremony slightly raised a little bit where they're doing all the stuff and the twiddly things with the swords and that, and then we can have a slightly raised level, and that's where we will see Elizabeth and Norrington taking a walk. We will see Elizabeth's father at the ceremony, and he'll sort of, give her a nudge, like, no, go talk to her, and she clearly knows what this is going to be about, and Norrington leads her away. And then we see them walking along this sort of nice place. It's a little sort of hilltop, maybe there's some nice trees, and again, it's that sort of thing of like, this is high society, as it were, and those are not the peasants down there, but those are the normal people. That's the chorus, that's the townspeople, and this is where they're up here, having their romantic, wonderful talk. And that's where Commodore Norrington and Elizabeth will have their mini duet. And I'm tentatively calling this one the proposal song, because I can't think of another name for it. If you can think of lyrics or other names for songs, chuck them down in the comments below. But for now, it's going to be the proposal song. But slowly over the course of this duet, they'll start to drift apart. And Norrington will be singing about things, and Elizabeth will be singing about things. And to the untrained eye, it will appear as if they're singing about the same thing, and Norrington definitely thinks that they're singing about the same thing. He's listening but not hearing her, essentially. And the song will end with Norrington proposing to Elizabeth. And Elizabeth will have no answer for him. And she'll either say, I don't know, or she'll say, I'm sorry, or she'll just leave. But either way, she'll need some time to think, and she will leave the stage, and Norrington will be left on his own. That will then fade out, and Norrington will go off stage, and we'll cut back down to the chorus, and there'll be the people in Port Royal, and they'll continue their song about how Norrington is great and all this stuff, which will be a kind of blow after we've just seen him get essentially rejected. But they're going to continue singing about what a great place it is, and then we're going to have the entrance of Captain Jack Sparrow. I don't want to give him a song. In fact, I don't want to give Captain Jack his solo until a lot later on in the show, but bear with me and I'll explain why. The projection with maybe some extra props to make it 3Dified, that's totally a word, that can come through, and we don't see Jack yet. We just see bits of this ship, maybe the chorus while they're doing their Yay, no pirates, isn't this a great place to be song, the sort of the Yay Port Royal song, as it were. They can see the ship and sort of clear out from the docks, like, whoa, what's that? And this ship will sink, and we'll see it sink on the projection. We'll see sort of the ocean. We won't see it go under the ocean, we'll just see it like, and we'll see it like go, and as we see and hear the tiny mast sort of fall and break and scatter into the ocean at the docks, we will hear a sort of whoa, and we'll see the rigging go, and we'll see a piece of rigging that's left as it's falling. And that's how Jack will make his entrance. The actor will be on the rigging, potentially on a wire, depending on how safety it is, and he will come flying onto the stage and just sort of fall and land, and just sort of be like, cool. And he could have a moment with the dockmaster again where it's, you know, they could be asking him to pay, well, you need to pay to dock your ship, and it could be like, do you see a ship? Because I don't see a ship. And it can be like, well, technically, I think you'll find I have no ship, so I'm just going to be going. Anyway, so that is the entrance to Captain Jack, but he doesn't get a song just yet. I thought it might be quite fun if the chorus, while they're singing about there being no pirates, they also sing a little bit of the song A Pirate's Life that Elizabeth was singing earlier on. And this time the lyrics have changed and the tune is a bit more up-tempo, but what they're singing is about how pirates are bad and scum and evil and wicked, and they do all these bad things, and how they're so glad that the pirate's life is not here, essentially. So that's the song that'll be around when Jack is emerging. And Jack is walking through, and he can say some quippy things and he can have some lines of dialogue, but he doesn't join in with the singing just yet. And then people can start to cotton on to the fact that he might be a pirate, and then he can potentially have some guards coming after him, or maybe the dockmaster because he hasn't paid, or because he stole, or because the ship caused some damage to the dock as he came in. Either way, and Jack is like, right, and he is off. In the next scene, scene 6, this is where we will see Elizabeth sitting by the side of the dock. She might have another short song at this point, or it might be a reprise of her lines from the Future Hope song. Either way, she's going to be looking at the medallion, and she can sing about how she's not sure if this is her place and her future hopes. She had so much more hope for herself than this. And at this point, Jack Sparrow will arrive. He has given his pursuers the slip, and he is just sort of taking a breather. And Elizabeth will be singing a little bit, and then Jack will join in. And this is the song that I've called the Want versus Expectation song. Again, title-wise, give me some ideas down in the comments below. So Elizabeth will be singing about her expectations of other people, for herself. Is it bad to have expectations? Is it bad to live up to them? Her life would be good. These people are well-intentioned. They love her. And then Jack will come in and he can give her a quip about, well, what do you want, kind of thing. Do what you want. And she goes, well, I want to make these people happy. I want to make my father happy. I want to do this. And he goes, no, but what do you want? She's like, well, I want... And she's talking about expectation and he's talking about want, and they can have a sort of back and forth. Again, Jack isn't singing yet. He's just quipping, and Elizabeth is, riffing off of him. And then he will spot the medallion, and Jack will be saying, where did you get that? And just as he moves towards her, Elizabeth draws back and she looks afraid. And this is where Norrington or Elizabeth's father will arrive, possibly both, and they will recognize him as a pirate. They've heard all the commotion going on in town, and the guards will come to try and arrest Jack, who will then run away again. And then we have the next scene, scene 7, which will take place in the blacksmiths. and Jack will arrive and the place will be empty. He'll interact with the drunk guy who's asleep, that kind of thing, and then Will arrive. And Will and Jack will immediately start fighting. And again, Jack won't be singing just yet. Will be singing at him. He'll be singing about how he's a pirate, how his ship was attacked by pirates, how he was trying to find his father, and if it wasn't for pirates, then he could still be looking for his father, but his ship got sunk. And he can be saying because of pirates, he lost everything. And he might even mention the medallion that his father sent him, which could make Jack have a light bulb moment, but I'm not sure. He could just reference something his father gave him. And again, Will is singing and Jack is quipping back, and they're fighting. And it's a really cool fight scene. And they can have props and things, and they can have stunt doubles if necessary, and they can be running all over the place having this fight. And much like in the movie, Jack will cheat somehow, Will have no sword, and he'll be trying to find a weapon to pick up, and then Jack will bring out his gun and he will point it at Will Turner. And this is the moment where we will hear Jack Sparrow sing for the first time, where he's pointing his gun across the stage at Will Turner, who is barring the exit, and Jack will sing, "This shot is not meant for you." He will sing this in the tune of a song that will come up later in the show when he's singing with Barbossa. But for now, this is the first line we will hear him sing. And this is where I've decided to diverge from the movie once again. I have decided that the interruption to the fight this time is not the drunk guy and the soldiers. Instead, we hear cannon fire. This cannon fire takes us into scene 8, where we meet the cursed crew of the Black Pearl. We're going to see the blacksmiths with Will and Jack, and as the cannon fire starts, this is going to distract them both, and Jack is going to make his exit. We're then going to cut to the Port Royal town, and we're going to see this pirate crew coming in, and we're going to hear that song again. That theme song from the beginning that we only heard instrumentally, which is the Cursed Crew theme. This time, they're singing it, and they're singing about how they want it, and they're looking for it. They might say gold. Anyone who's watched the movie will know what they're looking for, but they might not say it outright. Elizabeth is going to be led away by her father, and then they're going to get separated in the struggle and the chaos, and we're going to meet loads of these different pirates, and we're going to see all their different personalities, and they're going to be like, we're looking for it, we want it, we need it, where is it, where is it, where is it? That kind of thing. We're cursed, we need it. Jack will be sneaking his way through in the background. Will be trying to follow him, but he'll also get caught fighting all the pirates and stuff. We'll also at this point be introduced to the wonderful pairing, who I'm very sorry I had to look up the names for, so give me a moment. Here are their names. Pintel and Rigetti. They were not the names I was expecting those characters to have. If you're anything like me, you may only know them as Dude with the Eye and Ello Poppet. Yeah, those two. While the crew of the Black Pearl are singing the curse song and they're fighting their way through Port Royal and they're looking for this coin, those two are going to have their comedic moment, and they are going to have their own verse, possibly even their own chorus, but they're definitely going to have their own verse of the cursed pirate song. And it's going to be sinister, but comedic sinister. They are going to get the sense of the coin, you know, a bit like Nazgul sensing the ring, I guess, and they're going to follow Elizabeth and hunt her down. Now, she has been separated from her father in all this chaos, and we see them chasing Elizabeth, and they'll have the hello Poppet moment. Elizabeth can try and fight back, and then ultimately she will shout parlay, and they will knock Elizabeth out, and they will take her to the Black Pearl. And we will see them carrying Elizabeth through the street, and will see this happen while he's fighting, and all this crazy stuff will happen. He'll be trying to he'll see Jack going off in one direction, he'll see Elizabeth going off, and he'll see all this absolute chaos. And then, just like in the movie, Will get knocked out, and all the stage lights will go black. Sorry, I've had to do a quick camera switch around, so I'm filming this. It'll probably look a little bit different. All right, so next we have the lights coming up on Port Royal, and it's the daytime. It's the next morning, and he immediately rushes off to go and find Norrington and Elizabeth's father. And they then have an argument, like they do in the movie, about how is the best way to go and find Elizabeth and rescue her from these pirates. And then we're going to have a three-way song between these three men. And the title I've given this song for now is The Only Man Who Cares. Or the extended could be The Only Man Who Cares for Elizabeth. Again, stealing from lines from the movie, The Only Man Who Cares for Elizabeth. Now, I want this to be a three-way song between Will, Norrington, and Elizabeth's father. And each of them are going to be singing about how they believe they are the only man who cares for Elizabeth. And it's going to culminate in them all going their separate ways. So Will's going to run off to go and try to find Jack, and Norrington is going to get her father to come with him, and they're going to get a fleet in a ship, and they're going to go off, and they're going to find her that way. And then we will cut to the Interceptor itself. And we can potentially have a bit of revolving stageness here, where it revolves, and we see that ship again, the third ship, this time decked out as the Interceptor, and we can see the whole ship, and we can see the deck. And this is where we get Jack and Will having their duet. And this is a duet that I'm kind of excited about because it was the first thing that I had that I thought was a big light bulb moment. So bear with me because you will understand why this is my favourite song of the whole show. Just bear with me. This thing will play out similarly to in the movie. Jack will have found out Will's name and Will will be asking him, why you only agreed to help me because you found out my name? Jack will then tell him about his father being a pirate, a scallywag. Will be like, no, my father was a good man. And this is where the duet titled A Pirate and a Good Man will start. It will start by them talking about Will's father. And Jack will be talking about Bootstrap Bill and how he was a pirate. And Will will be saying, no, my father William, he was a sailor, he was a good man. And that's going to be the first part of the song, a pirate. No, he was a good man. So a pirate and a good man, and they're both singing about their different opinions on Will's father, Bootstrap Bill. As this conversation in the duet turns and they get more hostile towards each other, they're going to start singing about themselves. So Will is going to be singing about, you're a pirate, Jack, you're a pirate, I'm a good man, my father was a good man. And in that way, the song's going to progress. So instead of it being a pirate or a good man for Will's father, it's going to be a pirate versus a good man. So it's Will, the good man, versus Jack, the pirate. And that song will go on and on and on as those two eventually agree to disagree, essentially, and they decide they're going to Tortuga because they need to get a crew. And then we will come to scene 11, and this is the final scene of Act 1. And this scene will involve potentially swiping the ship around, and on the other side, the ship has been decked out, and it is the Black Pearl. And the lights change, and it's all scarlets and blacks and greys and darkness, and the lantern lights are lighting up the place, and there's little candle lights, and there's clouds in the dark sky overhead. While they were arguing on the Interceptor, it was blue skies, and now it's dark and cloudy. And there's light where the moon should be, but we can't see it just yet. And we'll cut to Elizabeth and Barbossa in Barbossa's cabin, and Elizabeth will be waking up. Barbossa is going to be asking her, who are you? What's your name? What's your name? How did you come by this coin? And she'll be saying, I didn't steal it. And he'll be saying, family heirloom, all of this stuff, because they've already decided she must be the child of Bootstrap Bill because she's got the medallion. And Elizabeth, in her infinite wisdom, will call herself Turner without knowing the implications of this. And she's looking at this coin, and maybe that's how she makes the decision. She's looking at this coin, and maybe as part of the song, in a refrain from earlier when she was having her not quite sure who do I choose song, she will call herself Turner. And of course this seals her fate, and she is kept on the ship. And this is where Barbossa will have his first song. And it will start as just him, and then the crew will join in. And this is the song that I'm calling The Story of the Curse, or potentially Believe in Ghost Stories. Again, stealing lines from the movie. You best start believing in ghost stories, Miss Turner, you're in one, that kind of thing. So it will start with Barbossa in the cabin, and he will explain why they want this treasure. And he'll talk about how they've been starving, but they can't eat, and they can't feel the warmth of flesh, and they've frittered all this stuff away, and they've had to go and collect it, and that they're cursed men. Elizabeth, while Barbossa is singing this song, she is backing away from him. She might try to stab him, and he'll do his, I'm curious after killing me, what was it you planned on doing next, kind of thing, and she'll run away, and she bursts out onto deck, and the lights will come up, and it's still dark, but we can now see the crew. And then the clouds move in the darkened sky, and the moonlight shines down, and it's not quite a spotlight, it sort of illuminates the stage in this white pearly glow, and then somehow they all turn into skeletons. I'm thinking UV flecked makeup that goes with their piratey sort of smudgy makeup that you can build into the cheekbones of their outfits, and you can have different bits of UV on the costumes and stuff and on their hands, and in this light it will change, and the skeletons, and she'll see the crew and the ship, and maybe the ship can have some UV on it as well, and it can all just be this horrible skeletal ghostly black pearl, and for the audience it's going to be this huge spectacle of like, whoa, what the fuck, and they can have a sort of song and dance number. They can join in with Barbossa's song, they can sing about ghost stories and how maybe Barbossa sang about how when he was a kid he read about ghost stories and they used to excite him, but now he's in one, and they can sing like, you're in one, you're in one, you're in one, and she can be running through the ship, and she can be interacting with different skeletons. She can go down into the hold, and all those lights can come up down there, and we can see the candles illuminating and all these skeletons arriving down there too, and she can run through and back and up, and eventually as the song culminates and they're getting to a chorus, Barbossa bursts out of the cabin, and he is bedecked in his skeleton outfit, and he looks fucking sick, and I think he's gonna have the monkey I can't get rid of the monkey. In good conscience, I can't get rid of this monkey. So we're gonna have a person puppeting this monkey, and of course the skeleton version of the monkey as well. And Barbossa will come out, and the skeleton monkey will be there, and he'll have, maybe the end line can be, "Best start believing in ghost stories. You're in one." And that line can be to Elizabeth, but it can also be to the audience as a whole, and the crew can be like, "Yeah!" And then that'll be it, the end of Act 1. So Act 2 will open in Tortuga, and we'll have a fantastic chorus number where they're all dressed up in fantastic outfits and they're all portraying different characters. We can really go into the backstories of all the people who are living here, and we can just fill it full of life and colour and riot, especially after the sort of the dark sky and the moon and the UV light that we just finished Act 1 on. It'd be nice to have a riot of colour to begin Act 2, I think. And we'll meet up with Jack and Will. They'll come on stage and they'll join in with some of this, and Will will be like appalled, like, what the fuck is all of this, but secretly really loving it. And Jack will be really getting into the swing of things. We could include those two girls who slap him, that could be quite fun. And then he'll meet up with Gibbs. I'm thinking this is going to be a chorus encompassing number again. They're going to join in with it, and they're going to start by rounding up a crew. So it's Jack and Gibbs who are going to start, but then they're going to push it to Will, and Will's going to have to be finding this crew, and Will's going to be joining in essentially with a piratey song and secretly really loving it. So Will's going to be writing people down and getting the crew sort of in the background with the chorus, and we're going to see Jack and Gibbs come to the front, and they're going to have their discussion a bit like in the tavern in the movie, and they're going to discuss who Will is and sort of hint about what plans Jack has for him. And because we didn't have Will busting Jack out of prison earlier, I'm not going to be reusing the line leverage. Instead, I'm going to be using the line the opportune moment. And this is going to be a refrain that's going to keep going through and through. In fact, the chorus song could be an opportune moment. That could be the start of that song. It could be Will saying, "This is your opportune moment. Come and sign up. Come and, work on this crew. Come and sail the seas. It's your opportune moment." And then that refrain is carried on by Jack when he's talking to Gibbs about the opportune moment for, using Will, essentially. And Will overhear this, and we'll see him overhearing, a bit like Elizabeth overheard the proposal speech earlier. We'll see Will overhearing that, and he will be suspicious as fuck. But hey, they've got their crew, they're ready to set off, and now Jack is going to lead them with his compass to Isla de Muerta. Alright, so next up we have Act 2, Scene 2. So we've had Tortuga, we go from one bright, riotous, colourful location, and again, we go to a sort of more sombre location. Now, the Isla de Muerta, which I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing wrong, the Isla de Muerta, we're going to have huge set pieces for this. We're going to have sort of rocks. It's going to be that big cave full of treasures and golds. I would really love to work on this musical if it became a thing, because just creating some of these sets and costumes would be amazing. So we're going to have big set pieces, and of course the massive chest in the middle, the huge chest, which will be cheated slightly at an angle so you can see all the coins, and there's going to be loads of these coins. Again, fat, chunky coins so the audience can see them. Huge coins, and they're going to be all in there. Is it 882 of them, I think? And yeah, we're going to see Barbossa and the crew, and they're going to arrive, and it's going to be gold and lush and lots of rich colours, but it's not going to be like a riot of colour like Tortuga. Again, there's going to be that blue sort of dim dark light. They're not skeletons anymore, they're sort of normal piratey selves, and the crew is going to start singing as they walk in. And it's going to start with a couple of the crew over here, and then a couple over there, one over here, one over there, one at the back, one down the front. And as they're coming in, they're going to start talking, and it'll turn into a song about what they want to do and how long they've waited, and it's happening. They're going to lift the curse, and we're going to steal some lines from the movie here, like they've all paid their dues 100 times over and 100 times again. They've played the blood sacrifice, the heathen gods, all of this stuff, and they're going to sing about how they frittered it away, but they searched it and they got it back. It was painstaking. It took them years, and they finally searched and got all this gold back, and this is it. And it's going to build up, and slowly everyone's going to be joining in one by one, and then Barbossa will join in, and he will lead them in the last few lines, and it'll be like, yes! And that'll be the different sort of cursed crew song. So it's not the believe in ghost story song, it's the cursed crew's chant where they're like, yes, we're going to be free, essentially. And Barbossa will be like, yeah, and then he'll give his speech, and then they'll slice Elizabeth's hand, and then they'll drop the coin, and then they'll wait for something to happen. And of course, nothing does. And while this song's going on, we'll have had Jack and Will who will arrive, and they'll pop up at the back and they'll sort of be peering over. We can use those levels like we used it for Port Royal down the bottom, and then the sort of the avenue of trees where Norrington proposed to Elizabeth. That section can be used so that Will and Jack can be sort of looking over, and again the monkey can be there because why not? I just want more puppets. and Jack and Will can be looking over, and maybe they can join in, and Jack can be singing about the opportune moment, and maybe the pirates can have a refrain of that as well, like it's our opportune moment, the moment is now, and then Jack and Will can have a little dispute about that, and Will could be saying, well, we need to save Elizabeth, we need to go now, and then eventually Will will end up smacking Jack and knocking him out, and he will sing the refrain, and it'll be Will's chance to sing, I'm not your opportune moment, like, I'm not going to be your opportune moment, so sorry, instead of being Leverage, he's now an opportune moment, but I just couldn't find a way to fit the jail scene in. It took too long. It was too many bits and pieces. So anyway, Will is not Jack's opportune moment, and Will is going to run down and he's going to save Elizabeth while the pirates are all starting to argue, and Barbossa will shoot one of them, and there can be like that comedy. They can have a comedy moment again. They can have a couple of lines from their song earlier where it's like, he shot me, and all this. That can be quite funny. And Barbossa can be deflecting off his crew, going, no, something's gone wrong. Wait, what's your name? And what's your father? William Turner. And she'd be like, no. And he like, smacks her away and all that. And then Will goes and rescues Elizabeth, and Elizabeth grabs the coin again, or she still has the coin. Elizabeth gets the coin, and we see Elizabeth and Will make off, and Barbossa and the rest of the pirates are pissed. And then we'll have a short scene, which doesn't necessarily have to have any singing in it, where Barbossa and his crew will capture Jack. They'll find Jack, and they'll be like, what the fuck, are you still alive? How? And Barbossa and Jack can have their sort of standoff. Maybe they could have a couple of bars where they sing at each other and they have some quips, but they'll have a full duet later, so not too much of that. And then Jack can be about to be killed, and then he can very smugly do the whole, like, yeah, well, you need me kind of thing, and Barbossa will just do his, you know whose blood we need. And maybe that could be a song line, that could be the last line of their duet, the sort of mini duet, and he can be like, you know whose blood we need, and Jack will be like, I know whose blood you need, and that can be their little moment. So, yeah, they will take Jack away, and that'll be that quick moment. We now cut back to the Interceptor, okay? And we're in that massive ship set from the back again, the third type of ship. It's dressed up as the Interceptor, and we're in the hold now. And we're in the hold with Will and Elizabeth. And Will has maybe had a moment where he's told the crew Jack fell behind, that kind of thing. And they are setting off, they're going away. And Will and Elizabeth are having their moment, and Will is taking care of Elizabeth's hand, and they have the whole, oh, blacksmith's hands, they're rough. That they have their moment. They can sing a refrain, they could maybe have a little mini reprise of their duet from earlier. And then Elizabeth will give him the coin back and apologise for taking it, and Will say, I thought I lost this so long ago. And Elizabeth will say, I'm sorry, I took it, I thought you were a pirate. And then Will get a little bit angry, and he will start to sing again a reprise from that song that he sang with Jack, A Pirate and a Good Man. And he'll be hating it, he'll be singing about, my father was a pirate, so how can he have been a good man? And I've got his blood, that's the blood they need my blood, dirty blood, a pirate's blood. Does that mean that I'm not a good man? And so it's a pirate and a good man, and as in those two things can never go together. And Elizabeth will leave, and Will be left there, distraught and frustrated about the whole thing. Good scene. And then we have scene 5 of Act 2, which is basically just called the dance fight scene. So this is the bit where we're going to have both ships on the stage again. So we're going to have the Interceptor, and we're going to have the Black Pearl down two sides, and there is going to be cannon fire, and we can have lights lighting up different parts of the stage. So at some point we can have lights that come on down in the bowels of the Black Pearl, and we can see Jack being imprisoned in the jail cell down there kind of thing, and we can have his moment of stop blowing holes in my ship. And I don't think this should necessarily be a song. There could be some singing from the different crews, but predominantly I think it should be a dancey fight number. So really big on the fighting and cannon fire and explosions and sound. And it's the Interceptor versus the Black Pearl. There's people swinging across from both ships, there's people dying and flying across the place, and eventually the Interceptor will be sunk. We're all ended up on the Black Pearl. So we're on the main deck of the ship, and we can see Barbossa and Jack arguing, and Elizabeth starts to argue, and the crew have been captured, and they start to sing a song. And at the beginning it's a three-way song. It might start as a two-way song between sort of Jack and Barbossa, where they're sort of arguing over things, and Elizabeth joins in and she's arguing. Barbossa is almost against everyone, Jack's against Barbossa, Elizabeth's against Jack and everyone, and then will clamber up the side and it'll be like, oh, he's alive, oh my god! And Will join in with this song, and he'll start singing about how he knows that he's got the blood that they need, and he will threaten to, with the gun, and he will make the deal with Barbossa. And there could be some funny quippy moments. We can use the comedic duo for this as well, Mr. Eye and Poppet and Barbossa as well, with the name your terms, Elizabeth goes free! Yes, we know that one. Anything else? And Jack can be doing his like crew, me, and Will can, say the crew are not to be harmed, and Elizabeth goes free, and make a terrible decision that will go terribly wrong for him, and Barbossa can just be like, agreed, and then he takes the gun, and Will gets clapped in irons, essentially, and then there can be some, flourishes of chaos and stuff, and they can get the plank ready, and then we can watch Elizabeth and Jack be thrown off the plank, and Will being annoyed, and then Barbossa being like, well, you failed to specify when or where, the Black Pearl can move off the stage, and then the island set can come on. Elizabeth and Jack have been chucked off the plank, and they are now on the little spit of land, and this is a interesting scene, because this is the scene where Elizabeth learns the truth. This is going to be a pivotal moment for mostly Elizabeth, a little bit of Jack, but mostly Elizabeth. So they're going to land on the beach, and we could potentially do some lighting to show that they've been there for a little while. You know, the scene can come up, they've been sat there for a while, and, you know, Jack could be making sandcastles or something, and Elizabeth is being frustrated. And this is the scene where Elizabeth will learn the true story of how Jack got off the island. And we've been hearing different things about pirates and what Jack's done through the different renditions of the A Pirate's Life song, through what the chorus were accusing him of and what Elizabeth was singing about. And this is where we'll get the full song A Pirate's Life again. And again, it'll be a similar tune, but maybe slowed down. This time the chorus sped it up in the town, but this time it'll be slowed down. And this time it's Elizabeth singing. So they get onto the island, Jack is raging, he wants his shit back, he hates Barbossa, and Elizabeth is saying like, well, you got off this island before, I'm with the infamous Jack Sparrow. She's almost not worried, she's with the infamous Jack Sparrow, it's gonna be amazing, right? And then Jack is like, yeah, no, last time I basically got lucky. And he explains what happened last time. And it's mostly Elizabeth singing. Jack can sing back to her, he might sing, he might speak a little bit of dialogue and sing some bits, but it's predominantly Elizabeth's song. And Elizabeth is going to be slowly getting frustrated and disappointed. She's going to be singing the same tune of A Pirate's Life, and she's going to be singing about how it's going to be fine because he's the amazing Jack Sparrow, and he's going to reveal to her what really happened. And he'll talk about how he only stayed there for 3 days, and none of the stories are true. They just, you know, it was made up. It was all made up, and he just, yeah, he bartered passage off, essentially. And Jack might be pretending to be nonchalant, but also be a little bit bummed during this song, but he's mostly frustrated at Barbossa, so not too much nuance for Jack just yet, but just a little bit. But I've also put that at the end of this song, Elizabeth can have a refrain from her earlier song about her hopes, her future hopes and plans, and about how she was hoping for more than this and how she's not sure of her place. And essentially it can be in a minor key this time, and she can end the song by singing that, you know, maybe I need to be more realistic, you know, maybe, you know, the stories aren't true, you know, ghost stories are real, so maybe the fairy tales aren't. You know, maybe this fantastic idea she had in her head of that she could be something, but she never even knew what that was, and, you know, maybe it was in front of her all along. And that is essentially the point in the story where she thinks, maybe I will just marry Norrington and do what my father hopes. And after all this, when she's having her most depressed moment, she is going to be like, right, screw it, that's where I need to go back to, this is the only chance that we've got, and she'll set the fire, and we'll have the, but why is the rum gone moment, and she'll be taking the fire. I don't think it'll be necessarily the next day. I think she could just take all the rum off him at that moment and just be setting this huge fire, which will be another projection, which will be good. We can have that wonderful line of, the entire Royal Navy is out looking for me, do you really think there is even the slightest chance that they won't see it? And Jack being like, but why is the rum gone? And all those wonderful moments, and they can sit, and then we can sort of show some time passing a little bit. Maybe Jack can wander off, and then Norrington and her father will arrive, and they will get picked up, and we'll have a moment where potentially on the beach, they don't have to go back to the Dauntless for this, but they will want to arrest Jack, and Elizabeth will say, we need to go and save Will, he came to save me, he came to rescue me, and they can be like, well, the boy's fate is, you know, sad, but like, whatevs. And she can go, okay, as a wedding gift to me, will you do it? And she can sing a refrain once again of her song, of her hopes and her future hopes song. And this can be her, once again, like she said to Jack on the beach, it can be her realization that maybe her realistic goals, yeah, maybe this is her best shot, maybe this is her happiness, this is it. So yeah, she's gonna marry him. And Norrington and her father are delighted, and they take her and Jack off, and they get ready to go to the Dauntless. And in this next scene, I am going to finally explain to you why my favourite thing that I came up with for this whole stupid concept is the song A Pirate and a Good Man. So here we are, folks. Here we go. So after we've gone on the island and Elizabeth has got bitterly disappointed and she's sitting there and she's set the fire and everything, we will cut to the Black Pearl. Specifically, we're going to be in the hold of the Black Pearl once again. And Will has been imprisoned, and so has Jack's crew. And we'll get the same sort of thing as in the movie, where Will will learn what happened with his father, and he will hear the full story, not just Jack's little accounts. He will hear what happened afterwards as well. He'll hear that the mutiny didn't sit right with him, and how they strapped the cannon to Bootstraps, and we might even see the actor again on the wire. We might see a repeat of that, where they'll come down from the ceiling while they're telling the story, and it can be all murky and like it's a memory, and we'll see him disappearing off, and Will can realise what happened to his father. And this is the point where Will change his mind. And once again, will sing a reprise of the song, A Pirate and a Good Man. But this time, instead of it being a pirate versus a good man, like it was with him and Jack, and instead of it being him saying, I can't be a pirate and a good man, my father can't be a pirate and a good man, this time it's Will coming to terms with it and accepting the fact that you can be a pirate and a good man. So this time, A Pirate and a Good Man is the whole title, and it is My Father Was a Pirate and a Good Man. Which is kind of sweet. And I'm really happy that I created that. As they get onto the Île de Muerta, so the pirate ship will sort of move back, and then we'll get the Île de Muerta set once again, and there's Barbossa's up there with Will ready to slice his throat. Who should arrive but Captain Jack Sparrow? Jack will wander through and he will be shouted at, and Barbossa will shout, how the blazes did you get off that island? And Jack can shout something funny that maybe Elizabeth mentioned in her song, like sea turtles or something stupid. And then Barbossa and his crew can be about to kill him, and Jack will be like, no. Don't lift the curse yet. And he can tell them that Norrington and his men are outside, and he'll again have a repeat of that refrain, the opportune moment, and he'll tell them you need to wait to lift the curse until the opportune moment. And Will recognize this refrain, and only Will and the audience will see Jack pick up some coins and put them down, and he'll keep one, or he might just pick up one stealthily. But either way, Will and the audience are the only people who see that Jack has now got a coin hidden about his person, and Barbossa will be convinced to wait for the opportune moment. And they'll have a little bicker back and forth where Jack will be saying, you know, you can have 2 ships and I can help you and I can be captain and all this. And Barbossa will agree, and he'll say to his men, take a walk. And then we'll cut back to the Dauntless this time. And this time we'll be in probably the captain's cabin of the Dauntless, and we will see Elizabeth inside where she has been put. We might see her put there by Norrington, who is convincing her, no, I need you to stay here. Jack's run off, he's probably betrayed us, he's back with the pirates, you're not safe, none of this, so I need you to please just stay here. And potentially he could sing, I'm, the man who cares for you, I'm the only man who cares for you, and then he'll leave to go and do stuff. And Elizabeth will be sat there frustrated, and then her father will come and he'll knock on the door, and she'll answer, but she won't let him in. And then Elizabeth's father will stand outside the door, and Elizabeth's father will have his solo song. And Elizabeth's father will then go on by himself to sing that he is proud of her and he thinks that she made the right decision by agreeing to marry Norrington, but he knows her and he loves her and he wants what's best for her, and sometimes the right decision when made for the wrong reasons can be a bad decision. And Elizabeth will be listening to this and she'll stop replying, and instead she will go out the window. And by the time her father has finished singing the song, Elizabeth is gone. He opens the door and sees that she is missing. And as he notices that she's missing, and maybe he shouts, Elizabeth, the lights can change a little bit, and the Dauntless set can move, and we can see again this ocean projection with all these lights shimmering and this underwater feel, and maybe we can see a shadow again of a ship somewhere overhead, and we realise once again we're underwater. And then, just like in the movie, we can watch as these skeletons emerge from the darkness, and the whole crew is in their skeleton get up in the moonlight, and they're marching forward, and there's going to be loads of music, and they could be singing another sort of like the pirate chant, the cursed crew song, or it could just be like the melodies and the orchestra going crazy. But either way, they're drawing their weapons, and we see the side of the Dauntless come across, and they climb it, and then this huge fight ensues, and we see the skeleton crew attacking Norrington and his men. We see Norrington fighting. Elizabeth's father could have a moment with the hand. That could be a very fun puppet moment. So all of that will occur. Massive big fight, skeleton crew, absolute legendary scenes. Again, there could be the option to have 2 ships on stage, of course, the Dauntless and the Black Pearl, and we could then have some lights in the battle that light up the different areas, like in the battle between the Black Pearl and the Interceptor, and we can see the crew fighting, and then we can see Elizabeth making her way through the Black Pearl to go and release the crew, and she is convincing them, we need to go and save Will, where are they? We need to go save Will, and they can have their moment of being like, look, it's in the code, we're not going to go do that, and she can do the whole, it's more like guidelines anyway, and eventually the crew can just sail off, and we will learn that they have left with the Black Pearl, and Elizabeth can desperately go to try and save Will. And the fight will continue on. We'll hear the fighting in the background, but it'll fade as the scenery moves once again, and the ships move, and we move back into the Île de Muerta set with all the treasure and the gold and stuff, and we will see that Will is still tied, and there is Jack and there is Barbossa, and they're sort of still having a bicker about like how much money Barbossa's going to give Jack and how much of a cut he's going to have, and Jack is saying things like, I'll get you a really big hat kind of thing. So they're still bickering about that. They'll start to sing, fight at each other as well. They can have some quip lines. It doesn't have to be a full song. Again, it can be a reprise of their argument song from earlier. And then we have Jack's skeleton reveal. And I think that Barbossa and Jack should be fighting, and it should reveal somewhere near the top. Now, in the time between Jack taking the coin and then us seeing him in his skeleton outfit, we have had a whole scene in between that. So we have had Elizabeth freeing the crew on the Black Pearl. We've had the other skeletons coming up and starting their fight with Norrington. We've had Elizabeth's father singing. So there is plenty of time for Jack and Barbossa as characters, as actors, to get into different costumes. So Barbossa can have his different makeup done and the bits of skeleton stuff put onto his costume. And Jack, of course, can have his skeleton-esque stuff put on as well. And I think it would be really fun if when we come back to the Ille de Muerte scene, we don't know that Jack has changed. Potentially you can cheat it so that when they're arguing and fighting, Jack is mostly got his back to the audience, because Barbossa we've seen before. So if anyone catches sight of his skeleton makeup, we've seen that before, we know what it looks like, but we have not seen Jack yet. So I think that reveal should be left until they're fighting. As they're fighting, they can have some back and forth about, you know, oh, what are we going to do, Jack? We're going to be two immortals locked in epic combat until Judgment Day and trumpets sound, or you could just surrender, blah, 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 that kind of thing. And I think once again, we can borrow the piece of scenery that's up the top. So that big scenery bit where Norrington and Elizabeth propose, we can use that in Ille de Muerte as well, so they can fight round the treasure, round Will, who's like, what the fuck? Elizabeth can maybe arrive at this point as well, and they fight, and they go round the top, and that's where they go into a patch of moonlight, and we see Jack in his skeleton ensemble. So he's sort of fighting, cheat it to the audience, and then he can step back and do the reveal in the UV light. And we see that, and hopefully the audience can be like, whoa! And Barbossa can get in his skeleton garb as well. And especially if it's UV and it's done right with the lighting in certain points, they can both be jumping in and out of skeleton garb all the time, and it can be going like skeleton, no, flash of skeleton, flash off, and oh, it could be sick, man. So yeah, heavily coordinated on the stunts for that. But yeah, they will fight. And Elizabeth will come and she'll free Will. Potentially they can fight some pirates down there as well. Or she could just free Will and they could have a moment together. And then Jack and Barbossa will fight, and they can be singing, or they can just be fighting, whatever it is. And then, finally, Jack will have his moment of the opportune moment, and he'll sing that refrain once again, and Will understand what he's saying, and Will echo it, the opportune moment, and Will sing that refrain back to him, the opportune moment, to show that he's understood. And we'll have the moment where Jack cuts his hand and he throws the coin, Will catch the coin, Will do his blood, and then Jack will shoot Captain Barbossa. And Barbossa will have his line of, you know, however many years it was 4 years, 6 years, you carried that pistol, now you waste your shot. And then we'll have Will, who will, instead of saying he didn't waste it, he can sing that refrain again of, it was the opportune moment, and he'll drop the coins, and Barbossa will look down, and the blood pack will spurt, because you've got to have blood. It's going to be amazing. So Barbossa will blood from where the gunshot has gone through him, and he'll drop his sword, and then, fuck it, I want to give Barbossa a dying song. I think Barbossa's dying song should be a reprise of that Believe in Ghost Stories song. And he can sing just maybe a little bit of a verse and then the ending chorus, and he can sing again about how when he was a boy he didn't believe in ghost stories, or he thought that they were really scary and really cool, but now he's lived one and his ghost story has come to the end. And he could sing something about apples, or something about he can taste, or he can smell, he can feel something again, he feels warm, you know, something like that, and he'll have a really pivotal final line, and then he will die. And as Barbossa dies, we will hear the sounds of fighting will stop. And then potentially we can see the ship's set come back in just a little bit, and it'll be the Dauntless, and we'll see the skeleton crew fall, and they'll fall out of the UV light, and all the skeletons will disappear, and they're all pretty much dead because they've all been stabbed. So yeah, the crew is gone, Barbossa is gone, that's the end of them. And then we'll cut back to Will and Elizabeth, who will have a sort of a moment of almost a moment, and Elizabeth will say that she needs to go back because her fiance is waiting for her, and she's going to marry Norrington, and she, you know, she's realised that's her reality, that's the place where she belongs, that's her place. And Will can be gutted and potentially can have that line again of feeling like, you know, she takes his heart with her, that kind of thing. You've put my heart in a box and it's gone with you, that kind of shit. And Elizabeth will leave, and Jack can potentially have that moment with Will again, where he can again sing that line, the refrain of, you know, you were looking for an opportune moment. That was it. And then, yeah, we will cut then to the second to last scene. And the second to last scene is at Port Royal. So once again, we're at Port Royal, and everyone is there. Elizabeth's dressed up in her finery, and she stood with Norrington, probably arm in arm, and her father's there looking proud, and Jack is about to be hanged. He's going to be executed. And we have that scene, and the chorus can potentially be singing that song again about, you know, that sort of to the tune of a pirate's life, but they can be singing about the bad things that pirates did, and they can be listing off the list of things that Jack's done, and he can be interrupting and being like, Captain Jack Sparrow, like, no, actually that was twice, and like, yeah, I did do that, like, oh yeah, I've forgotten that one, and all of this, and he's about to be hanged. And then we can have the moment where Will comes in, and he speaks to Elizabeth, and he can sing that refrain of their earlier song, maybe the duet they had together as they were growing up, and he can sing that he loves her, and he should have told her every day. And potentially he could sing the Opportune Moment refrain again with that. And then he will go off and attempt to save Jack. Now, forgive me because I have changed this scene for the purposes of it being a musical. Please forgive me. So instead of there being a massive fight scene, which there could still be, I've changed it so that instead of that, Will is going to save Jack by singing a song. So Will is going to burst up onto the stage bit where Jack is about to be hanged, and Will is going to sing to the audience and to everybody on the stage. He's going to sing A Pirate and a Good Man, and he's going to be singing about Jack and how you can be a pirate and a good man, and how, you know, he did some good things and they should let him go. And Elizabeth will get up and she will join in, and this will eventually convince her father and Norrington will agree to give Jack a head start, essentially, and let him go. And Jack will fuck off after having, you know, some quippy lines of dialogue with Will and Elizabeth and stuff, and essentially not quite saying thank you. And I want Norrington to have a line of saying that he will let Jack go, and he can sing that, and then Norrington will carry on, and in the same tune he will then sing about letting Elizabeth go. Only a few lines, and it'll be essentially the same thing he says to Will about this is a great sword, I would expect this man to take, you know, great care of everything in his life, and that'll be essentially him blessing it and being like, look, okay, I realise you two should be together, it's not me. And he will then leave, and Elizabeth's father will have his line as well, where he can sing that he's the only man who cares for Elizabeth, but he is glad he's not the only man who cares for Elizabeth, and he's glad that she has this. And the father is essentially blessing it, and he can potentially say the whole, like, you know, well, he's just a blacksmith, and Elizabeth can have the whole, like, no, he's a pirate, and maybe she can sing that as he's a pirate and a good man. So Elizabeth can have that, and Will can join in. They can have their wonderful moment as the father walks away, and they can have their a pirate and a good man moment, and they can have their snog, lovely, snoggy, wonderful moment. And now we come to the final scene of Act 2, the final scene of the show. Now we're going to have Jack's solo at last. So we see Captain Jack Sparrow, and he is back on the Black Pearl. We see potentially how he gets there, you know, he maybe follows the parrot, you know, which could be another wonderful puppet. Anyway, and we see the crew, and they welcome him back on the Black Pearl. He's given a coat, and he's got his hat on, and he's standing at the wheel, and he's like, yes. And then Jack sings to the same tune of A Pirate's Life, but this time he sings the truth. And instead of it being stories about him and rumours about bad pirates, he sings about what he wants. He sings about how the Black Pearl is freedom. She's more than just a keel and a hull and a deck and sails. I'm stealing from that scene he had earlier with Elizabeth because I'm not going to have that moment. I'm moving it to the end. And Jack sings about how all it is freedom. And that's all that he wants. And he sings about what he wants to do. And at the end, we get different people joining in. The crew of the Black Pearl will join in with Jack. Will get Gibbs and everyone else on there, and they'll be joining in. And Norrington can join in with his men. We'll see them in a different part of the stage lit up, and he can be saying, you know, one day's head start. And we can have Elizabeth's father there with him. And then in the top scene where the trees were, and ironically probably on the opposite side to where Norrington proposed, we can see a silhouette of Will proposing to Elizabeth, and they can join in with this song, and it can be A Pirate's Life, and it's about wanting freedom and hopes for the future and stuff. And they can all join in, and the chorus is joining in, and we've got all these people and all these voices joining in, and then it will also be Jack solo, but they're all joining in to back him up kind of thing. And then all the sails will get unfurled, and we'll see the ship, and it'll move around on the stage, and you will see the Black Pearl, and it'll all be bedecked in wonderfulness, and it'll look fucking marvellous. And Jack will be at the wheel, and he'll sing the last line, which will be something like, show me that horizon. I think I can write a better line than that, but, you know, stealing from the movie, it'll be something like, bring me that horizon. And he'll have his compass out, and then he will sing Drink Up Me Hearty Yo-Ho, whatever the last line of the A Pirate's Life song will be. And as he sings that final line, everyone will join in, and it'll be like, yes, you know, sort of drink up your hearty yo-ho, and that's, you know, at the end, it's like a rousing number. Everyone's getting what they want. Norrington's got a new goal. Elizabeth's father's happy. Will and Elizabeth are getting married. Jack's going off and pirating, and, you know, sort of a big sort of jolly yes. And so yeah, that's the end scene of Pirates of the Caribbean: Curse of the Black Pearl, the musical. So my voice is absolutely killing me. I've gone through like 3 hot chocolates and it's not getting any better. So basically, that is it. That was my concept and my proposal for Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl, the musical. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. What are your favourite musicals? What are your least favourite musicals? Any ideas for lyrics, for song titles, anything you like, chuck them down in the comments below. If you'd like to support me in any way through my chaos, you can join me on Patreon if you would like to. Every month you can commit to me on a monthly basis. When you're on my Patreon, you get to see behind the scenes things, you get to vote on various things, you see stuff quicker than other people, and you get photos of the dog, which is obviously why most people are there. If you'd like to commission a personal in-character message from me from any of the cosplays that I do, then hit me up on my Ko-fi page. Most of the ones that I do are Peter Pan in various forms, Mollymauk, Lucien, Kingsley, and I do Puck from Midsummer Night's Dream as well. If there's anything else that I do that you would like, if you'd like a message just from a pirate in general, hit me up and we can sort all of that out for you as well. If you'd like to throw me support as and when you would like to, also hit up my Ko-fi page. And if you would like to purchase merchandise, I also have that on my Ko-fi as well. We have some of these left. These are from my Never Never movie. These are prop acorns that I have made. So these are on chains if you'd like to have a kiss from Moku, that's what we're calling them. So if you'd like to have one of those, hit up my Ko-fi. And I also have badges as well. These are available on my Ko-fi store too. There are 6 different designs currently. Ironically, I don't have a pirate one yet. I am probably very remiss on that. I will definitely be adding a pirate one in future, but if you'd like any of the 6 designs, or all of them, or a few of them, then hit up my Ko-fi page and you can get some of those. As always, thank you for your wonderful love and support. You do not know how much it helps me when you support me, and as I have spoken about a little bit in some of my other videos, any support you give me this year, and probably next year as well, is going towards not just helping me to do my Never Never movie project, but also towards some personal things that I am having to save quite a lot of money for. I hope you're having a wonderful day, my wonderful jelly spoons, and I will speak to you next week on Monday Madness. Next week I'm probably going to just do a con video because I am spending the entire weekend at Comic-Con. If you are going to be at Comic-Con in London next weekend, come and find me! I'll be wearing Ashton on Saturday and Kingsley the Pirate on Sunday. So hopefully I will see you guys then. If not, you can see it all in my cosplay vlog on the Monday. So goodbye my wonderful jelly spoons, and drink up me hearties, yo-ho!